The university cafeteria smelled like coffee and judgmental glances. Of all the people I could have partnered with, it had to be Caden, Mr. Protein Shake himself. His gloves neatly folded beside his tablet screamed control freak. And the last thing I needed was someone monitoring my sugar intake. I bit into my donut defiantly, meeting his calculating stare head-on. Little did I know, our rivalry would turn out way sweeter and messier than frosting on fingertips. Chapter 1. Sweet and Sour. When Professor Clark announced the pairs for our final finance project, my heart sank into my gut. Caden, the golden boy with abs apparently crafted by Greek gods, glanced at me like I'd just stolen his last protein bar. We'd been rivals since day one, trading barbed remarks and glares across lecture halls. He was healthy-obsessed, meticulous, and never without those ridiculously posh leather gloves. Who even wears gloves indoors? Our first meeting was a caffeine-fueled disaster. He arrived early, armed with spreadsheets, graphs, and an annoyingly confident smirk. I plopped down opposite, scattering pastry crumbs across his neatly organized files. Yeah, I could be petty. As we argued over financial models, the tablet we used crashed repeatedly, mocking our attempts at harmony. Each forced restart deepened our irritation, tension crackling like static. By evening, we left barely speaking, unaware of how tangled our paths would become. Chapter 2. Sugar-coated challenges. Our second session started with passive-aggressive punctuality, Caden already waiting, green smoothie in hand. The guy's discipline was annoyingly flawless, while I arrived, slightly breathless, fingers sticky from a hastily devoured chocolate eclair. Watching him sip that grassy concoction with an expression of moral superiority had my teeth grinding. Work flowed about as smoothly as caramel on a cold day, punctuated by sighs, muttered insults, and the sound of his elegant leather gloves squeaking against the glass tabletop. Every sugary snack I pulled out earned me a pointed glance from Caden, clearly judging my coping mechanism. Halfway through our increasingly complex data analysis, my nerves unraveled, and I polished off half a packet of cookies without even realizing. When I glanced up, Caden was staring not judgmentally this time, but curiously, like he'd glimpsed something vulnerable beneath my sugary armor. Then, the tablet flashed angrily and crashed again, just as our gazes locked. Chapter 3. Competitive Chemistry. Weeks blurred into sleepless nights, fueled by lukewarm coffee and jittery nerves. Our animosity gradually faded into a strangely comforting rhythm. My scattered creativity matched by Caden's relentless precision. Despite myself, I started noticing tiny details. The meticulous way he peeled off those gloves, revealing hands softer than I'd imagined. The faint furrow between his brows when concentrating, oddly endearing beneath the sharp exterior. One evening, buried beneath textbooks and scattered notes, I caught him rubbing his temples, gloves discarded carelessly on the table. His usual perfection faltered briefly, revealing exhaustion and vulnerability I hadn't expected. A flicker of empathy softened the sharp edges of our rivalry, surprising us both. But peace was fleeting. Caden the smiling snake slipped into our orbit. Ostensibly helpful, yet I sensed calculation beneath his charm. He leaned over, murmuring dubious advice to me, eyes sliding possessively toward Caden. I should have realized sooner. He wasn't here to help me, but to sabotage everything. Chapter 4. Sweet Betrayal. Everything unraveled faster than spun sugar in rain. Trusting Caden was a rookie mistake. The data he'd provided turned our meticulously crafted presentation into chaos. Caden stared at me across the table, hurt flickering behind his guarded eyes. He clearly thought I'd messed up deliberately. Our fragile bond shattering like brittle caramel. I spent the night restlessly pacing my dorm room, guilt clawing at my stomach until it felt raw. Early the next morning, half delirious from sleeplessness, I found Caden's leather gloves forgotten in our workspace. Their silky softness felt strangely intimate, a stark reminder that he wasn't as invulnerable as he pretended. Returning them felt like an apology without words. When Caden accepted silently, his fingers brushing mine softly, I dared to hope something between us wasn't entirely lost. Graduation loomed ahead, our futures diverging, yet the unspoken truths between us hung heavy and finished, unresolved. Chapter 5. Melting Points. Graduation day slid past in a blur of stiff gowns and false smiles. Caden vanished swiftly into a prestigious internship, and I assumed we'd fade into distant, competitive memories. I buried lingering regrets beneath job applications, donut binges, and the hope that my sweet tooth could heal more than hunger. Years spun by quietly until fate, that ironic trickster, threw us together again at Elke Norman Chase, a financial powerhouse built from glass, ambition, and ruthless competition. My stomach twisted when I saw him older, sharper, now head of department, yet his familiar leather gloves still hinted at hidden fragility. Caden, unfortunately, was there too. His rivalry had calcified into something colder and meaner. He smiled icily from across boardrooms, eyes flicking dangerously between me and Caden, promising trouble without saying a word. And just like that, our old tension reignited, more complicated and dangerous than ever. Chapter 6. Burning Calories. Life at Elke Norman Chase quickly became a marathon of deadlines and caffeine-fueled nights. I was surviving on pastries and anxiety, while Caden buried stress beneath endless reps in the company gym. We'd circle each other cautiously in hallways, our glances heavy with unspoken history and simmering curiosity. When the company handed us a major client project, fate practically laughed in our faces. Suddenly, we were back at square one late nights, hushed tensions, and arguments softened by familiar banter. Yet, something had changed. His smiles were warmer, teasing rather than cutting, and my defenses slowly melted under his steady gaze. One night, sharing pizza in the empty office, I noticed Caden stealing bites from my slice, eyes glinting mischievously. My pulse jumped. For once, the immaculate gloves lay forgotten, casually tossed aside like an unneeded shield. That small gesture felt enormous, like the start of something we'd both long avoided. Fate. Chapter 7, Bittersweet Truth. Just as hope trickled sweetly into our routine, Caden crashed in, ruthless and swift. He orchestrated a brutal humiliation during our team meeting, twisting my careful work into public embarrassment. Heat prickled my skin as judgmental stares surrounded me. My usual sugary comfort felt powerless against the sting, but Caden surprised me. He stepped forward, effortlessly dismantling Jaden's claims, his voice calm and commanding. A rare surge of protectiveness burned in his eyes, leaving Caden stunned, his smug grin finally shattered. Relief washed over me, sweeter than any pastry I'd ever tasted. Afterward, alone in our dim office, Caden's expression softened further. His gloves rested on my desk, a silent declaration, an offering of vulnerability. I pushed away the untouched dessert beside me, heart racing not from sugar, but courage. I knew then we'd crossed. Chapter 8, Perfect Balance. The final days leading to our big presentation flew past, smoother and sweeter than ever. Caden laughed easily now, and I'd learned to savor the warmth in his eyes more than any dessert. Even the frustrating tablet glitches felt like playful reminders of our rocky beginnings. Obstacles easily brushed aside together. On presentation day, nerves crackled through the conference room, tension taut as stretched caramel. Yet, standing beside Caden radiated from his relaxed stance. His gloveless hands brushed reassuringly against mine beneath the table, sending warmth surging through my veins. It was a subtle promise we were ready. Our presentation unfolded effortlessly, teamwork clear in every smooth exchange. Each confident gesture, Caden watched, bitterness etched on his face, his defeat undeniably satisfying. When the tablet briefly flickered off, Caden swiftly rebooted it with a teasing smirk, an inside joke only we understood. As applause erupted, something deeper bloomed between us undeniable and perfect. Chapter 9, Sweet Victory. Celebration buzzed gently through the office, laughter mingling with the soft clink of champagne glasses. Alone in our quiet corner, the energy shifted subtly. Caden's eyes softened, his guarded expression finally slipping away entirely. He reached into his pocket, gently placing a familiar pair of leather gloves into my palm. Their smooth texture whispered of trust, intimacy, and acceptance. Heart pounding wildly, I understood the message clearly. He no longer needed to shield himself from me or the world. We stood there quietly, breath mingling softly, uncertainty dissolving like sugar crystals in warm water. Our kiss felt inevitable, tender yet fiercely possessive, a natural collision of sweetness and strength. Every rivalry, every misunderstanding, melted completely beneath our shared warmth. I'd tasted victory before, but never this sweet, never this utterly complete. This moment was ours alone, undeniable proof that we'd conquered our fear. Epilogue. Now, he steals my desserts without asking, and I tease him for counting macros. Caden still works out religiously, but he'll split a cheesecake with Mies. Sometimes I've stopped hiding behind frosting, learning to speak up instead of sugarcoating everything. At Elkin Norman Chase, we're no longer rivals or coworkers playing defense. We're a team professionally, emotionally, and undeniably in love. His gloves now rest on my desk, a quiet symbol of everything we overcame. And every time our tablet glitches, we just laugh because we know exactly how to reboot, together.